So my name's Graham Alexander, and I'm Professor of Herpetology in the School of Animal, Plant and Environmental Sciences at the University of the Witwatersrand. So in South Africa, we've got the highest tortoise species richness in the world. That means we've got more species here than any other comparable place in the world. Tortoises are sold illegally on the roadside, and often people driving past will stop and buy these tortoises because they think that they're actually saving the tortoise. But what they're really doing is just perpetuating the problem. They're getting that person that's got that illegal trade to go and find more tortoises and come back to the roadside to sell them. One of the other big problems is that you buy a tortoise on a roadside where you're traveling in some other part of the country, and you take it home, put it in your garden, and the environment is entirely different. So often a species that is adapted to arid environments gets brought to a much more mesic environment where there's a higher rainfall and so on, and it's really not suited for those individuals. And you'll normally find that they'll get some sort of a respiratory disease, or they don't have the right food because you don't have the appropriate plants in your garden. Ultimately, the tortoise will die because of the conditions it's being kept under. And if you have them in your garden, they can become a nuisance. Quite often when they lose their fear of humans and they associate with humans, they can get a little aggressive and they want to come and nip you at the ankles, and they can ruin your garden too. So often we find that people that have had leopard tortoises become tired of them, and then they need to get rid of them. So what do you do with your tortoise? And what most people do when they have an unwanted tortoise is that they take it to the local zoo. So zoos in South Africa have got a real problem. At some stages in Johannesburg Zoo, they've had more than 300 leopard tortoises that have been brought in by members of the public, and they just don't know what to do with them. Releasing them in the wild is not an option because you've got that problem with the gene pools. And also, you might be taking diseases into those natural populations. So the situation where we have unwanted tortoises being dropped off at the zoo means that over time the number of tortoises at the zoo just climbs because tortoises are long-lived. So we came up with the problem of, well, what do we do with those tortoises? So one alternative was to put them into the pet market, send them overseas where there's a great demand, and maybe that could lessen the demand for tortoises in the pet trade and then lessen the illegal trade. But the other option, of course, is a little bit more drastic maybe, but to euthanize them all. So there's another reason why you shouldn't really be removing tortoises from the wild.